Welcome to Subtle Propaganda. I'm Drew, coming to you live from the volcano that will one day destroy us all. Joining me is Three Circles Mike, who has no idea what a Venn diagram is, Integrity Joe, who's late in light, and Rob. We will be talking about pop culture, world news, politics, military culture, fight videos, and the general state of the union. Are we charlatans? I don't know. You decide. Oh, and remember, like, subscribe, and share this podcast with your friends, and don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments.
What's going on, fellas? Happy Friday.
Yo, yo, yo. What's up? What's happening?
You know?
Just living the dream. What's up with you guys?
Oh, hey, guys.
How you doing?
Same old stuff, man. I'm getting one day older. I'm tired. It's raining out here, so my head hurts. My jaw hurts.
Your
No
bones
fun.
hurt? Did you
My
take your
bones
Advil?
hurt. Yeah, I know, right? Nah, I'm drinking tequila instead.
Oh,
That boy.
there you go.
That'll cure what ails you.
And Giardia.
That's right.
Yeah. What's good by you guys, man? What's Joe? I haven't heard from you in a bit, man. How you been busy? How's things? How's Carl holding up?
It's been great, man. We went on a little turkey hunt where we didn't get anything in northern Arizona over on the North Rim. So that was it was fun. It was really beautiful to kind of romp around the mountains up there. And then we kind of took a little time at Powell. So we went over there and just kind of chilled out by the beach. And yeah, the wife is pregnant, so she's due here in a couple weeks. So we just been kind of getting stuff ready at the house and chilling out, doing this and that. And then, we lost another chicken this week, but we gained a new puppy.
Damn.
So,
I was about to say,
Oh,
you better
shit.
mention the puppy, dude.
Yeah,
we
I
knew.
know. You didn't send pictures to us or anything. I had to find out from
I know.
You
I had to find out on
showed me
Instagram, bro. Yeah, like, come on.
Instagram.
I know. Her name's
See how it
Marley.
is, bro. See how it is, dude.
I'll send you guys pics right now. But,
Marley?
Yeah, Marley. They called her a Chihuahua German Shepherd mix, which I don't see how you get those two.
I
So
don't know,
it'll
but
be
it's a cute dog.
small. It's gonna be a small
Yeah,
German Shepherd, I guess.
Yeah, it's I don't think she's a Chihuahua, man. She's like a German Shepherd Rottweiler mix or something like that, or Lab.
Yeah,
That's
that's
what I
what
was
she
going
looks
to
like.
say. I was going to say
Yeah.
Rottweiler, but I felt like maybe I was off base with that.
Because of the
Yeah.
coloring, right? The color
Yeah,
pattern.
for sure. Yeah, there's no way. There's no freaking way she's part Chihuahua. So it's just funny how
It's so comedy, dude.
it's fucking. It was pure comedy. So, but so I'm gonna. We found her we found her in the reservation. Someone dropped her off on the bed of a truck. Man, they were going down the 89. They're going down the highway, and just launched a couple puppies out the back. And
What
Yeah.
the fuck?
yeah, dude. So
Fuck.
she was picked up by somebody and brought into the Humane Society and stuff like that. So she's like a typical res dog up here, up in northern Arizona.
Just a typical res dog.
Oh man,
Pick for the
they're so
curb.
that's what they're known for. There's so many fucking mutts and like all kinds of dogs walking around. It's like little Mexico up there sometimes.
So
Damn,
apparently
dude.
they're not heeding Bob Barker's advice. Spay and neuter your pets.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right.
Unless they come down here, so. But she's been great, man. She's a good little fit. She's nothing like Moose, which is great. That Bohemia.
Dude, so
What is
how does it
the-
work? Tell me how it works with a kid, with the baby on the way. It's like how, I've never had like a baby, so I don't know what happens when you have a puppy and a baby in the same place. Like,
Yeah. I mean, we have a 3-year-old too, so it's definitely a house full. It's kind of nice just because we have the land, we have the 1.5 acres, so we're just kind of, the dogs can go outside. We have a dog run out there for them. So I'm expecting to be out there for quite some time. I'm always outdoors and doing this and that. So it's not too bad, but with the baby, we just baby proof the house, and you just kind of, she's already crate chained, so she misbehaves or anything like that, she goes in the crate, and, we kind of put her in there. So, but, it'll be interesting. It'll be an interesting winter for sure. So
yeah,
How
it's
does,
gonna be a full house.
How does Moose like the new puppy?
honestly, he's going really well. He's doing
That's
really well.
good.
Yeah, I thought he was going to be a little aggressive with her, but no, he's been licking her, and they're like best buddies, and so yeah, they're doing really good. So
That's like the complete opposite of my dog when my parents got a new puppy. My dog was like, I hate this motherfucker.
How's what's his name? Toby? How is
Yeah,
it?
Toby. He's good, man. My mom just sent me a video of him. He's getting big, man. He's probably either bigger or as big as Abby is now.
And he's a yellow lab, right? Or what is he?
Nah, he's an English cream golden, so he's like a white golden retriever.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
cute dog, good looking dog. But I mean, golden retrievers, man, they just fucking eat everything, so they get big fast, right? I mean, I remember seeing them like just extreme, like blow up right away, man. Like get huge.
Dude, my dad just got 2 of them, and they're a year old right now, and he just got a hip surgery like 8 months ago, and they are a handful, man. But
wait, the dog got a hip surgery, or your dad did?
My dad did.
Oh, why I didn't know that? What happened?
Old man Jerry had a hip surgery. Just
he just had to replace the whole hip.
Yeah, he just it was about time for a replacement. So they went in there and gave him a new one. But he had about I think the puppies were 2 months old at the time. He just got them, man. So
God,
yeah, man, and it's true. Like they grow up really fucking fast. I mean, they're huge now. So he's had a lot on his hands the last couple months.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds brutal, dude. You like can't even move around.
Yeah, exactly. It's fucking hilarious to watch him discipline him, though. He has a bunch of rolled up paper towels and rolled up like old towels, and he just chucks them at him, and he tells them to sit all the time.
Toby's 70 pounds. Someone in chat saying that's.
Oh yeah. Toby's 70 pounds. That's a big dog, man. That's bigger than Abby.
That's a big dog.
Bandit's like 50. Like he's nothing compared to that.
Yeah, my dog never got close to that. I think she never got bigger than 55. So that's a big dog, dude.
Dude, he had huge paws when we got him, like just giant, big old fucking mitts.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome.
My buddy I work with got a Great Dane puppy, and it was huge and had those big ass paws and super clunky, like super awkward, and it's like running around the office like playing but it's hard to.
That thing's like a small horse, man.
Yeah, dude, it's weird to think of it as a puppy because it's so big. But when it runs or moves around, it's got that like kind of puppy feeling to it, with them just kind of being stumbling around and shit.
Yeah,
it's something else.
Just wait until he's like literally like eye level with like tops and stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a full grown one once in my life. When I was younger, and yeah, it's fucking huge.
How's school been going for you, Mike? You haven't told me anything new about it. You sound like you've been getting smoked lately.
It's just been kind of like this is like the midterm, so I ended up having another exam on yesterday, plus lab reports due, and then I'm trying to find a research paper to present. So I've been reading a lot of fucking antibiotic resistance papers that obviously take me a long time to go through to pick one out to present. But
just present the old Marine Corps doxycycline, man. It's perfect. Why sexually transmitted diseases are now antibiotic resistant because of the entire Marine Corps.
Maybe I'll look that up. I think that would be kind of funny to bring up. Yeah.
No, but, I mean, yeah, no. Like on a serious note, though, like I think an interesting part would be something like, how we all have to take a malaria chemoprophylactic, right? So like normally you're going to take doxy. And so for everybody that's listening, if you ever go on like a deployment, or if you go on an operation where there might be like an area that you're going to that's a malaria endemic area, you have to take drugs in order to try to prevent you from getting malaria, right? It's a terrible disease that we don't really have a vaccine for. So you take a prophylactic, such as, doxycycline is one. For a while they were giving, I'm pretty sure Joe took mefloquine, so Joe's crazy. They stopped taking mefloquine out. But yeah, at any rate, doxy, since it's an antibiotic and you're taking it for 7 months, 9 months, a year. I mean, the Army used to deploy for 2 years. They used to deploy for 24 months. Imagine taking doxy for 24 months and what that does to your body and what kind of antibiotic resistant things you start generating. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't think about that. I was like looking up way more boring shit. That might actually be something interesting to bring up, since obviously everybody there is like PhD students pretty much, and then like me, undergrad. So like when they present stuff, it's like stuff they're doing research on that's like super in detail and everything. So maybe that'd be a good like kind of interesting / semi-scientific thing to bring up instead of trying to go in depth with some 10-page paper about a bunch of stuff that I'm half
I mean,
sure I know
at
about.
at the base level, it's got to be something they probably haven't been exposed to before. I mean, not too many people
Right.
know about that unless
That's
you've
what I
done
was
like
thinking.
some time in Africa or something like that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. There would be it would be something that maybe wouldn't be as a surprise to like more of that it happened or that was the cause than the actual mechanisms of the paper, like what happened, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't
Yeah.
remember, but I remember right before I left the military, like the human microbiome, like in the medical community, was like the big. Everybody was talking about that. That was like the big thing, right? Like we need to figure out what we're doing to people by pumping them full of these drugs for so long, because no one else on Earth really does that, you know.
Yeah,
So I remember that being a big deal.
I remember
That's a
talking.
buzzword.
Yeah, my professor talked about that. The one I'm doing the research with about the microbiome and how it's just really no one knows. Even like probiotics, like a lot of people tell you to take probiotics. And he's
Right.
like, I've looked at all the data and all the research, like it's part of, you know,
Joe
that's
Rogan,
what he does.
aka Joe Rogan.
Yeah, just take probiotics and you're good. And but there's no actual like proof of it having a substantial effect. It could be good, could not be good, but there's no really like definitive for sure answer yes or no.
Yeah,
it's like one of those things that people don't know. There's just a word they hear and they just repeat it. You know?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Maybe you guys could
sounds
like
good.
just real quick, like a 30-second little like what we're even talking about. Because I bet people listening, if they don't have like a medical background, are kind of like, what the hell are they talking about?
You can go for it, Drew. Be able to explain it more concisely.
Oh, I don't know about that. I'm no traditional scientist, so we'll see. I'll give it my best shot. So your gut or your stomach is full of a bunch of bacteria, and the bacteria help us break down basically nutrients and fight off pathogens or anything that comes basically through our GI system. And we have, billions and billions of these. They essentially form colonies. And you have what's known as your gut flora. And they know that it has a lot to do with producing neurotransmitters, hormones. A lot of the times they'll also refer to your gut biome as your second brain, because there are so many neurotransmitters and hormones that are produced from that colony of bacteria that live in your gut, that it's a vital part of your human functioning. So a lot of the antibiotics that we take, broad spectrum antibiotics, they're designed to kill exactly what it sounds like, broad spectrum. So it's a very generalized and non-specific method for killing bacteria. So when you take high dosages of antibiotics, it kills all bacteria, and that includes the gut biome or the gut bacteria that live inside of you. So they're trying to understand what type of repercussions or deleterious effects that taking broad spectrum antibiotics have long term if you're constantly just wiping out the bacteria that lives inside of your gut.
Yeah, there's also a theory that like the reason why intermittent fasting can be good is because your gut, the bacteria has time to evolve and like actually do its job instead of you eating again, and then it starts over again as far as like that digestive stuff. So they're not even sure of like maybe if we're eating, maybe it's better to eat more or less frequently but bigger meals, or maybe it's better to eat more frequently with less amount of food, depending on how your bacteria actually works as far as digestion goes.
It can be all different, right? Because isn't each gut biome specific to each person, I think?
Yeah, it is. That's why it's like you can look up like what are the best diets for your gut, and it's literally just everything and anything you can eat because it makes it more diverse. So if you're like somebody who eats a very rigid, specific diet of like 10 things, then it limits your gut biome down to only being exposed to those 10 things, and then it evolves and adapts to be really good at those 10 things, but you throw something else in there and then it fucks it all up. Versus if you have a very wide range of diet, then your biome's more diverse, I think is what.
Hey man, my diet is very efficient, all right? It's just efficient. I eat the same 3 things. It's no big deal. Good. I'm never sick.
That's
Probably not gonna
the
get Corona.
that's the Donnie Trump diet, dude. One
That's
meal
right.
of McDonald's per day, 6,000 calories.
10 fillet of fish a day. You're good.
10 fillet of fish a day.
Yeah, dude.
Keeps the doctor away.
That is crazy.
That's the old saying.
Dude, he's powerful. You saw him. He's so powerful. You just go in there, kiss everyone.
Guys, I don't even care.
Yeah, he'll kiss everybody, man, right on the mouth. That's gross.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys were watching the town halls, but did you see when somebody called him the handsome? And he was like, he was just smiling, like, I mean, dude, he was squeezing so hard, and like, he was loving it. Some lady called him handsome. It was comedy. I was dying.
That's exactly what his ego needed.
Exactly, exactly, dude. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, but yeah, thanks for breaking that down, man. I think that stuff is really interesting, dude. I mean, especially because it's one of those frontiers, right? Like everybody, we all know everything now. We live in the scientific world. There's no frontiers to explore, but this seems like it actually can be pretty interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's definitely like a huge gap. Like I don't think anybody's like studying that. Like people going on coming off of deployments, like long-term exposure to super powerful antibiotics.
Because they're also equating it to PTSD and depression now too, saying that your gut biome can essentially be a cause of like depression or anxiety or PTSD in certain people.
Well, that's what I remember hearing.
Yeah. Well, that
like when I would go back to the schoolhouse to do refresher or whatever, we would talk about like hyperbaric medicine as a treatment for PTSD and TBI. PTSD is secondary to TBI, traumatic brain injury, and then that's how we were talking about it, was human microbiome with relation to in league with TBI as well for PTSD, stuff like that. So
yeah, there's a lot of
I think the new finding is they found out that serotonin is produced in the gut biome and I think synthesized in the brain.
Yeah, I think I remember reading that. Huh. I remember when I was taking my psychology class, I talked to my professor about that, and she was mentioning something about that. That's kind of where the foundation for it came and to actually be taken serious, was because it originates there. So maybe if it's producing a lower level, then when it gets synthesized, it doesn't have as much when the receptors call for it, type of thing.
Right. Well, I think it's like the precursor to serotonin is produced there, and then like once it travels up into your brain, it synthesizes into serotonin.
Okay, gotcha. But there's a lot like there's definitely a lot of questions and not a lot of answers to it. Because I've tried to look it up a lot when I'm looking up stuff like this. I definitely try to look at that because I think it's interesting, but there's not a lot out there.
Well, yeah. I mean, imagine trying to design a study if every single person's biome is different.
Yeah, it's like a diet, right? It's why they can't say diets are one diet works better than the other. It's why you can never have a consensus over, because you never know. There's no studies you can do for it,
Dude, just take 10 alpha brain a day. You get yourself some elk meat, lift some kettlebells, and you're good to go.
Eat sardines until you get mercury poisoning.
You gotta smoke weed too, man.
Arsenic. Arsenic. Yeah. The old Joe Rogan diet. Can't go wrong. Get that HGH body.
Ugh, gross. Yeah, it does look weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been busy, but it's midterm, so hopefully it'll cool down next week.
Yeah, I'm in midterms too, and midterms suck, man. But whatever. It's tests are tests, right?
Yep. And then it goes into a nice cool period for a little bit, and then it's back to test, and then boom. But
I can't believe it's already almost November too. So I'm like, I'm actually kind of pumped about it. Like, I feel like every month that goes by, the closer it'll be for me to be out of lockdown, and maybe the city will get back to normal.
We're never getting out of lockdown, dog.
I know, right?
I just looked at one last week of school. Ooh, one last week to go.
Dude, we're all gonna be. We're eventually all gonna be in Gavin Newsom. Put your mask on in between bites territory soon.
Dude, yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. I mean, dude, I had to do it actually this last week. I won't go on a long one for this, but like I went to brunch with some friends, and we ate indoors for the first time. Oh, I told you guys about this when I went to they had that huge Azerbaijani and Armenian like march or whatever to end the war. And yeah, we ate inside, and they asked us to mask up every time like someone that worked there came to the table. And I'm like, what the fuck what is the point of that? Like, I don't really see the point. Like, I'm already breathing in the area. You know, you're walking over here. Like, I mean, are you wearing an N95? Like, are you like, is whatever you're breathing through going to filter my already breathed out air? Like, I don't really get how any of it works. You know, if I'm having brunch, every time you come over to me, I have to like put a mask. I don't know. It was super weird, man. It kind of like just doesn't make it fun to go out with friends, you know?
Yeah. Making it as painful as possible.
It's just covering their ass of like, we're doing all we can to keep masks on as much as possible, even though that it's not effective anymore, but we're still going to do it so that way we look good.
No, yeah. You know? I mean, I don't see how you stop anything in a city this size, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I think people are kind of getting stir crazy with it, and I don't know what's going to happen if we go into lockdown again this winter. But it seems like it's going that way, man. I mean, especially where you're at. I mean, where I'm at, I got a little more acreage. I can move around, do this and that. But I mean, you're in the city, man. You're fucked.
Oh yeah, we're definitely. I have no doubt about it. We're locking down again.
Oh yeah, it's coming.
That sucks, man. It sucks.
But the thing is, like, I heard this from somewhere else. I can't remember where, but it's like, dude, the virus might not be done with us, but we certainly are done with the virus. So we just gotta let it fucking burn through the population, man. We already fucked up.
I can see that, yeah.
Already fucked up.
Like, people for sure are gonna get bored with it, you know. They're like, "Oh, I'm over it. Whatever, fuck it." Definitely could see that happening.
Dude, it's getting so bad. It's getting so bad here in the park service. And because like last week, I think we had 2 park employees test positive and 9 concessions workers. So those are like contractors, or they work for the people like run the hotels and stuff like that. Get the virus, and dude, the fucking superintendent of Yellowstone is freaking out. And it's just like any other, you know, government agency or bureaucracy. They think it's good leadership to like lead everything off with, you know, first the superintendent has to write like a very strongly worded like diatribe email to everybody. Then your direct supervisor, or like the director of your department, has to send out an email saying the exact same thing. Then your direct supervisor has to give you a speech on it. And these people think this is like good leadership. It's like anybody that is sentient and conscious knows what COVID-19 is. We are all aware of the mask policy that is here at the park. We don't need to be reiterated 4 times within a day. This is not good leadership.
It's covering their ass, dude.
Yeah.
I know. It's all CYA. Yeah. Cover your ass.
Mm-hmm. That's the fun of it. That's the fun of it for them. You know, it's just like an exercise in, you know, just kind of like mental masturbation. You know, you're just like, oh yeah, I'll just keep saying this until people think that I'm doing the right thing. It's like,
right.
You can't blame me. I said not to do it. It's not my fault anymore. I told him not to do it.
What's the density in Yellowstone? Like how many times a day do you see other people outside of where you sleep?
It depends. Like, it's definitely not as high as it was earlier in the season. Like early in the season, like you can have, you know, upwards of 20 interactions with, you know, people from God knows where, you know.
Okay, that's fair.
But like that's frontline workers too. Like I work all over the park. I also work close to roadside, so I can come into contact with people pretty frequently. But I'm outside. There's usually a breeze, so it's not really that big of a concern. But there are other people that I know that like don't come into contact with people at all, and they're like super concerned about it. So I mean, I can understand if you're like the interp rangers. So like these are the people that specifically give people information, and like they give directions, or they like take fees at a gate or something like that. I can understand being on them about it, but somebody like me, like it's very intermittent. Like it's not a regular. You can't really track my contact with people because it's so erratic, But yeah, the densities. I mean, now, like when the season's slowing down, it's not that high. So That's the other thing is like you're worried about this now. It's like I get it, but like the season's winding down. It's only going to go down from.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I was just kind of like I can't imagine that it's like the interactions are constant, you know, all day, every day. I don't know, but yeah, I've never been out there, so I have no idea.
Nah, it's not. I mean, not unless you like. I mean, I guess if you work in Old Faithful and like you're one of those rangers, like yeah, you're fucking shit out of luck. But like, you know,
Old Faithful.
Yeah, dude, it's a fucking shit show down there, and you know, it's even crazier that like I've been down there, I think twice this year. It was insane, and we're not even getting the huge like buses that usually have Chinese tourists on them, you like circling through there.
Well,
So.
you definitely would have got COVID if that was the issue.
That's racist, Joe.
Yeah.
It's why they call it the China virus.
That's right. The China flu.
God.
They got me.
Well, speaking of Yellowstone, man, maybe we should cut into talking about some of our favorite mountain men tonight. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. Who wants to go first? Who wants the honors?
I think Drew's like jumping at the bits for it. Like he's got a lot of material for it. He's ready to go.
Dude,
I have a lot of material.
It's a fun topic.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just like how many different instances of them like finding Yellowstone, and I was like, that's where Drew works. When I was reading through it, because I don't have a lot of like, background before this. Before the other day when you guys were talking about this, I started looking everything up, and I'm like, and I just started seeing like first person to see the geysers, first person to come across it. Like I was like, and a lot of it's from like Basin, Missouri too, which is where I'm at. And this is something I never looked up. I just kind of kept going down the rabbit hole of it. It's super interesting.
Yeah, man. It's the place to be,
Missouri
man.
Yeah, seriously. That was the hot spot for him.
Yeah, the breakout west is it's part of the American spirit, man. It's like what, you know, like American exceptionalism. People don't like that these days, but I mean that's kind of why we have
destiny.
Yeah, it's why we have the attitudes we have, man. You know? Fucking went out and conquered the elements, dude.
Yeah, these dudes are fucking hard motherfuckers,
the Kid Rock,
man. I'd like to see I wonder if there's any modern mountain men anymore.
I bet there is. I mean, I've watched stuff, especially like, are you guys familiar with like truffle mushrooms or whatever? You know, like the ones you eat.
Yeah.
Yeah. They fetch like huge price, man. They're like worth their weight in gold, you know? And like these guys that hunt truffles, like I believe it's in West Virginia. You know, they get like full documentaries made after them and stuff. And they're pretty, I mean, although they're pretty modern folks, like just generally speaking, I mean, they spend most of their time, you know, in the mountains. So I would consider them modern mountain men. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's still trapping lines like throughout the country that people run and manage, like especially up in Alaska.
I was gonna say Alaska, yeah.
And like, dude, you want the real mountain men that still are alive today? Go out to Siberia, bro. You ever seen that Werner Herzog documentary called "Happy Life on the Tiguan"?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, that's a good one, man.
Dude, it's amazing.
I've never heard of that. What is it?
Basically, he made a documentary about these trappers that live out in the Siberia, and he just follows. I think it's like 3 or 4 different trappers as they're, you know, basically managing their trapping lines during the Siberian winter, and how basically like this life of hard work and like this arduous journey and all of this stuff, they're the happiest people in the world, even though they have, you know, basically nothing, and everything they do have is all designed to, you know, trap furs in the winter or get furs in the winter. And dude, these dudes just ride around and on snow machines. They all have dogs with them. Like there's a scene where like a guy has his like a 300-mile long trapping line and 5 cabins spaced throughout it. And the dude just like rolls up to one of his cabins with the snow machine. Is like, oh man, there's a lot of fresh snow on the ground. Chops down a fucking tree and makes fucking skis out of the tree right there over the fire.
Damn, that is impressive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's really impressive.
Yeah, he's like bending the wood and stuff, like over a fire and stuff. It's crazy.
It reminds me of speaking of like the Siberia thing. It reminds me of that guy Jordan Jonas, who he lived with. What are they? They're not Inuit, but like they're like a Siberian tribe up there.
They were like the Russians up there, though, right?
Yeah, and they
Russian
like ride. They like straight up ride reindeers and stuff. It's crazy, man. That was like,
Oh shit!
yeah, you guys didn't see that? Like, so this dude Jordan Jonas, he was on Rogan once or twice and like a bunch of other podcasts and stuff because he won that show. Oh God, don't kill me for not being able to remember the name of the show, but he won this show where it was like Survivor, but they put you up in the Arctic Circle. And basically they send you up there with like your choice of like one thing. So like a guy maybe could choose like a bow, and then another dude would choose like a fire starter, right? And then they send you up there to survive. And this dude, he like within the first couple of days of being up there, he like bagged a huge moose, killed it with a bow and arrow, and then butchered this thing and had enough food. He lived up there for like 80 something days. And then they came and picked him up like, hey man, everybody else quit. He was just chilling. He was just chilling, like fully just chilling, like not even having a bad time at all. And yeah, like when I heard his background story, I guess this dude, like basically, you know,
Was
he was
he
just
alone,
kind of
Rob? Was he alone?
Yeah, oh yeah. That's the name of the show. It's Alone. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the show. It's Alone. I'll look it up, but I'll check to see what the name of the show
Someone in chat just threw Alone out there, so
was it? Yeah, I think it was. Yep.
It's Alone. I put that up there.
Yeah,
Tonight,
it is.
my name is Wanda.
But dude, that guy's background's crazy, man. He like, I guess like he was like basically a hippie, you know what I mean? Like from the Pacific Northwest or something like that. And his brother like turned him on to riding the rails. And so he's just like, oh yeah, you know, like we're just hippies. We just kind of started like riding the rails and riding through the country and washing dishes for a couple extra bucks and like just kind of living our lives, you know what I mean? And sleeping under the stars and exploring the US. And eventually I met this dude who opened up this opportunity to end up going to Russia and living with these people in Siberia. So he goes to Russia, he meets a dude there, he starts learning the language. This dude introduces him to this like far cut off tribe of like basically, you know, they're like native people to Siberia that live up in those conditions all full time, all the time. And they survive off of the reindeer herds and they like domesticate them, they ride them. It's insane. It's really crazy.
Damn. That's crazy.
That's wild, dude.
That's
yeah,
cool.
so it made his thing on that show like just completely like he just didn't even care. He was just chilling.
Right.
Like, no problem.
I'm just living.
Yep.
He went straight for food, a food source, and like just like get this, I'm good. I can just hold out until the end.
Yeah.
Other people might have gone for like shelter or something. He was like, I need food first, and then I'll go with that with everything else.
Yeah. Instead of surviving, he was living.
Yeah, like his whole life is just surviving. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, the pictures of them like riding reindeer and stuff is just it's insane, man. It's crazy. They're by the way, the people are called the Evenki in Siberia. Very crazy. But yeah, it reminded me because you mentioned the dude making the skis, and that was like, you know, obviously, you know, they live in snow conditions pretty much all the time, so that's their thing, you know.
Right. Yeah. All right, so you want me to take this away with my mountain man?
Lead it off.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So my mountain man is Richard Lee, or better known as Beaver Dick. He was an English man. He was known for his towering height and his thick red hair and his thick beard. He was born. Yeah,
sounds like Joe, but minus the height.
Yeah, minus the height and hair. He's got the beard though.
Maybe he had the girth though.
Yeah, maybe. I think he was a pretty thin man. But he was born in Manchester, England, in 1831. Came to the U.S. when he was 7 years old with his sister. From there to Philadelphia. From Philadelphia, he joined the Hudson Bay Fur Company, and he was sent to the northwest of Canada to begin his education in trapping. He came back to the U.S. And joined the army to fight in the Mexican War. And after that, he was discharged from the army at the Rio Grande Valley, and he decided to head west from there. And he eventually settled in the Salt Lake Valley to resume his trade as an independent trapper, and this is where he earned the moniker that he'll be known as for the rest of his days as Beaver Dick, because of the his skill and the amount of beaver furs that he would trap each season. And there's a lot of stories about where or who actually gave him that moniker. And one of the people that supposedly gave him the moniker was Brigham Young himself, the King of the Mormons, because of the amount of beaver furs that he would buy off of them at the Salt Lake trading outpost. Yeah, and then the Native Americans, they also called him where is it? Inga Pumba, which means redhead. So he worked in the Salt Lake Valley for a little bit, but then he eventually discovered the Snake River Valley, which is on the west side of the Teton Mountains. So if you've ever been to Grand or the Teton National Park, he is the first non-native ever to settle in that area. And he created trapping lines in the Tetons, became friends with both the Bannock and the Shoshone Indians. During one of his return trips from his season of trapping, he came upon a Bannock Indian family. The guy had a specific name. His name was Bannock John, and his wife Tadpole was pregnant, and she was actually giving birth when Dick ran into him, and she was having complications during the birth. So old Beaver Dick himself acted as the midwife and safely delivered the baby. And Bannock John and
Take her down.
yeah, that's right. Bannock John and Tadpole were so grateful that they offered the newborn girl to him as his wife when she came of age. At the time, Beaver Dick is 31. He's like, oh, that's cool and all, but no thanks. I'm good.
Sounds like quite the wait.
Yeah, Jesus. Went on his way. 1 year later, he was coming back again from his season of trapping, and he ran into Shoshone tribe, and he hung out with them for a little bit, and he actually married a Shoshone woman, and her name is they don't have her native name, but he named her Jenny, and him and Jenny had eventually had 5 kids. She was just as skilled as he was at hunting and trapping. So she would actually go out into the frontier with him, or out on his homestead, and they would basically split the labor. And then Beaver Dick also is the guy that guided Ferdinand Hayden. So Ferdinand Hayden was the geologist that was a part of the government expedition to Yellowstone. There's actually a very famous valley in Yellowstone National Park named after Ferdinand Hayden. It's called the Hayden Valley. It's where it's one of the places where the most genetically pure bison herd still roams to this day.
Damn.
And Beaver Dick guided Hayden during his government-funded expedition. Also in Hayden's party was Thomas Moran and William Henry Jackson. So William Henry Jackson is what Jackson and Jackson Hole, Wyoming, are named after. He was a very famous photographer, and Thomas Moran was a very famous painter. These are the guys that basically took pictures of and painted all of the landscapes during this government-funded expedition. And they're the reason why Yellowstone was established as the first national park 1 year after their expedition in 1872.
Dude, what did you mean by the whole genetically pure bison thing? Like, what makes a bison genetically pure? Like, what does that mean?
So, okay, basically due to market hunting back during the settling of the western frontier, they started market hunting bison. So they essentially extirpated or almost completely eradicated. They essentially did eradicate all of the bison.
Sure.
There were maybe a few herds, like here or there, very, very small, that have they basically went into Yellowstone during the protection of, during the establishment of the national park. We're now under protection. So this very small herd of bison, they crossbreed with cattle a little bit. So they're not like 100. They're not 100% pure bison, but they're the closest you can get. Because I mean, they would have just died out if they wouldn't have been able to crossbreed because they'd been decimated so badly. So basically, the herd that survives in Yellowstone, because it's protected, was basically able to crossbreed with cattle that are around the area, and they're the most genetically pure bison that we have alive to this day.
Okay, that makes more sense. I didn't know that bison would breed with cows, like with cattle.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, there's actually like a huge ecological concern with that because I mean, this is like a huge tangent, but bison have this virus that they can carry called brucellosis, which causes the female bison to spontaneously abort the fetus before it comes to term. And because they can crossbreed with cattle, like it's a huge concern. So that's why there's like Yellowstone has to be very conscientious about making sure that the bison stay in the park, because Montana cattle ranchers or the ranchers around the area will freak out.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's
interesting.
You don't want that getting out. If that gets out in the population, then kind of no going back from it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of that's the main concern, basically.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to derail you, but I just didn't know anything about that, so thanks.
Yeah, no worries.
That's super interesting. I didn't know that either. I would have assumed that they just made it into like that protective area and just slowly just reproduced, but the cattle outside of Yellowstone would be less pure. That's what I thought you were meaning by it. But that's still super interesting.
I don't know. There might be some that are. I mean, they're just starting like the genetic testing of the bison here. So I mean, there might be some that are like pure, like 100% bison. I mean, if there are, they're here. They'd be somewhere here in the park.
Yeah,
I would say there's a good chance there's at least one.
Right. I mean, bison were everywhere, like back in the day.
Yeah, but I forget where. I think it was Steven Rinello's book, The Buffalo. I forget what his book was named, what it was called, but it was about the American bison buffalo. And he was talking about how when they wanted to influx the numbers back here in America after like the late 1800s, they adopted like a Canadian kind of buffalo, and they brought them in and kind of let them do their own thing. But I guess they're like all of the newer kind of buffalo, like you're saying, like they're not genetically like from here. It's all like a mismatch of different types of genetics throughout the years.
Yeah, I mean the Canadian buffalo might also, or the Canadian bison might also be beefalo, which means that they have some type of cow in them and not just bison.
Beefalo.
Beefalo.
I love that name. That's a great name.
Right?
I just bought a half a cow, not to get totally off subject, but yeah. Next up is the beefalo. I think we're gonna buy one of those.
You gonna buy a beefalo?
Yeah, but
delicious.
On to the next mountain man.
No, that's super interesting though, Drew. Like, because
I'm not done yet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, not to cut you off.
There's more to go. Beaver Dick is not done. He's got more
still dicking it down.
Yeah. So 1 year after the 1871 expedition with Hayden comes back again. So this time, Beaver Dick and his family are guiding Hayden and his expedition. And this area is basically what established the Tetons as a national park. They were camped at the base of the Teton Mountains. And because they were camping there, some of the people that were in his expedition were inspired to try to summit the Teton Mountains, which had never been summited before. So Dick guided the group to a terrain feature up in the Teton Mountains, what is known as the Saddle. And from there, Nathaniel Langford and James Stevenson became the first people to summit Grand Teton. As they were summiting Grand Teton, Dick scouted the first ever route through the Teton Mountains while he was hunting for meat for the camp. And then shortly after this, old Beaver Dick's life takes a turn on the tragic side, unfortunately. A couple of years after this Teton expedition, at his homestead, they come across a Native American woman and a child who are starving to death. And so Dick and his family take him in. Turns out that the Indian woman has smallpox. So she dies shortly after they take her in. And they couldn't just abandon the child, so they took her in with her. They thought she would be okay. She appeared to be fine. But several days later, the child developed the telltale signs of smallpox. And this is right around Christmas of 1876. And 4 days later, Dick and his wife Jenny and their 5 children all contract the disease. And 2 days later, they all die, except for Dick. Dick survived
Dick
the
survived.
disease. Yeah, he survives smallpox and he recovers.
It's so depressing.
Yeah. So from that point on, Dick struggled for a few years to maintain a normal life. I mean, obviously, how couldn't you? And then it just happened during the purge, the American or the U.S. led purge of the Bannock tribe out in the West. Old Bannock John, if you remember him and his family end up settling, or Dick takes them in so that they won't eventually be purged by the U.S. government or scalped. And it just turns out 16 years earlier, that baby that he helped deliver during John Bannock and his wife Tadpole's pregnancy, she came of age, and Dick marries Susan Tadpole, and it actually turned his life around, and they had a couple of children. Dick continued to hunt and trap with his family, maintaining his fur business in the Teton area. Eventually, a few years later, when he's camped out on the Continental Divide Trail at Two Oceans Creek, Teddy Roosevelt, with his hunting party, specifically sought out Beaver Dick so they could exchange old hunting tales and stories. Dick continued hunting and guiding in the Snake River Valley until his health permitted, and then eventually turned his business over to his son. And then in 1899, Beaver Dick died, surrounded by his friends and family. And the lakes that are at the base of the Teton Mountains are named after Beaver Dick and his family. You have Beaver Dick Lake, which now is called String Lake. You have Lee Lake, and then, of course, Jenny Lake, named after his beloved first wife. And that is the tale and the story of Beaver Dick.
Yeah, that's cool, because we were just up there this year, and to put the lakes and everything together like that is fucking awesome. That's I had no idea that they were named after the
he was like
family. That's cool.
Yeah, he was like very influential in the area. Like, he was the first white man to settle the area, for like relationships with the major Indian tribes in the area, the Shoshone and the Bannock. And I mean, he was just a super successful guider, hunter, and trapper.
Yeah, that is a crazy story, bro. That is a crazy life to live, man. It's
right.
Dude, talk about a roller coaster event. Like,
I know, involved in everything, basically.
Yeah, dude. Like, no boxes unchecked, dude.
That seems to be kind of like how these guys had to live, though. Like, I know, even from looking into My Dude and like all the other ones that I've ever read about, like just exploring kind of like how we went through the American West. It's like, that's what you did, right? Like you started, probably on the East Coast, you carpet bagged it somewhere, maybe got a job, doing whatever, maybe joining the military, maybe joining the Navy, whatever it is. You landed somewhere, and then, definitely. You're taking all these crazy jobs. And then what else do you do, like, on the frontier, right? Like, it's not like they had industry. So, like, either you're chopping down trees, or you're building cabins if you have that technical skill, or you're, like, drinking whiskey, you know what I mean? And gunfighting or something, you know what I mean? Like, that was all there was to do.
Yeah, it is a lot of those tales. And then you have those ones that stand out more than others, right? But yeah, a lot of them are very similar, especially with like smallpox killing off like a lot of like family members to a lot of these guys, and then being the one that survived too.
Yeah.
I've read multiple times, and like, and people, I guess I didn't real like I forgot how like fucked up and how deadly smallpox was back then. Like, there was something we don't think about nowadays because it's eradicated pretty much. But back then, literally everybody dies, you know?
I mean, that's what everyone talks about, like our treatment of the Native Americans, which is, you know, it's bad, but like as soon as they came into contact with us, it was over.
Yeah.
With the white man, it was over. Our diseases were going to kill them no matter what.
Yeah. And I mean, people also, you know, they neglect to discuss the tribal violence that was kind of already taking place. They have this like, you know, idea of a peaceful, you know, just everything's just super hunky dory all across
they're just
gigantic
It was
landmass.
barbaric, too.
They're peaceful and they only take what they needed. All right.
It was 93% of the time.
Right, exactly.
Peaceful,
perfect
7%
symbiotic relationship with the land.
They counted their corn kernels perfectly for next
harvest. War tribes and like war parties weren't a thing, you know? Like, that definitely was never a thing. But yeah, it's always peaceful, right? There were like specific tribes, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, that like were specifically for like war. They were literally war tribes. Then yeah, you had other ones that were more peaceful.
The Nez Perce.
No,
Nez Perce were people eaters.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, there you go, yeah.
Who were the what do they call it? God, give me a second, it'll come to me.
It's also like you said, Drew, when you had the clash of the culture, it's like if some Indians are probably willing to like negotiate and probably like come to terms, but then others weren't because of the fact they're like war tribing or like this didn't want to make a deal, and then all of a sudden it turns into an all-out like conflict overall, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean there's definitely evidence of that, of like once they saw like the improved technology, like there's a story of like if you ever wanted to make friends or, you know, contact one of the local tribes, you just take a modern day axe and you just tie it to a tree and hang it from a string, and it'll be gone, and then like a couple days later they'll come back asking for like 10.
Yeah, I guess that seems to make sense though, right? I mean, if someone has this superior technology and, you know, your society is based on trade, then yeah, that makes sense, right?
Right, exactly. And they would have slowly been incorporated into the, you know, the culture. They would have slowly adapted it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they certainly did with rifles.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like with tools, they immediate adaptation of our tools, you know.
And they even made them better because they were way better on horseback with them than we were. And way better just in general coming up with creative ways to use them.
Yeah, that was like that was the case with who I was thinking of, the Comanche. They were
that's what I was thinking.
Big horseback fighters. Yeah, big horseback fighters. But they didn't fight.
Yep.
They didn't fight with rifles from horseback. They fought with bows because they could fire so much faster than you know, any dragoon or cavalryman could ever hope to fire. Until we came up with repeating revolver.
I was say until the repeater
never actually happened.
Yeah, once the repeater came around, but even then, man, I mean, you picture a dude, because they were notoriously small in stature, which made them good horse riders or, you know, horsemen. And so they're like, you know, picture a dude who's 5'3", kind of resembling like a Mexican appearance, right? Like that kind of
Eric.
Yeah, exactly. Like small, like Eric. And they straight up, and they come flying by at 40 miles an hour and can empty a quiver of arrows at you in the time it takes you to reload your gun. It's kind of crazy when you think that. Like, they're like,
for sure.
You have superior technology, but they're gonna wreck you for sure. Yeah. Like if you don't kill all of them on the initial volley, you're getting smoked for sure.
Right. And
that's like, Custer how it turned out for him.
Exactly.
Yeah, they would do a lot of hood rat shit too. They would come in during the camps at night, you know, nice and stealthy, get all the women, get all the children, sneak them out, kill them all, hang them up. I mean,
you mean like what Americans would do to Hessians? We kill you in your sleep on Christmas?
On Christmas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's right. No, yeah, that was a good story though, man.
Thanks.
I like
Who's
Beaver
next?
Dick.
I like happy endings, so that's good.
He's got. I bet Beaver Dick's got the pound for pound best name of all the mountains.
Yeah,
That's probably
sure.
true.
Yeah,
That is a good one.
I don't think it gets much better than old Beaver Dick for a mountain.
Yeah.
Like how do you beat that one?
I don't know.
Right.
The one Rob brought up, Bad Hand, I thought it was a pretty good name when he couldn't got his fingers blown off. But
Yeah, yeah, he's legit.
Bad Name's a funny name, you know. Like,
I was gonna give him an honorable mention for sure, dude. He's got. I do agree. I think his name is up there for sure. But Beaver Dick's good.
yeah.
That one takes the cake.
So who's next?
Yeah, who's up? Who wants it? I'm gonna close. I'm taking last. I call last.
I'll go. Mine is definitely not as in depth, and I don't think as crazy as Drew's. But I went off because I'm like I haven't really looked up this a lot before, so I went off of I went with Jim Bridger, who is also one of the guys. If you watched Reverent, was part of the whole like glass bear attack expedition, which I thought was interesting.
Hugh
Because
Glass.
oh yeah, Hugh Glass. Yep, he was apparently one of the people that were supposed to be left behind to like care for him, and then left him and went back and said he died. He was also
What a
involved
buddy.
with right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hugh. Yeah, he's
Blue
dead.
Falcon.
He's dead. Don't worry about him.
Like I said, I hadn't looked into this a lot. I didn't even realize the connections with Reverent, the movie, obviously that everyone knows about. To when I started looking up all the mountain men and how it just kept coming up because a lot of them were there or around it, so it just kept coming up over and over again.
Yeah, that makes sense because I mean they were kind of like confined to like 4 areas, right? Because like everywhere out there is pretty dangerous, not only from the elements, but like from native tribes that will straight up kill you because you're in their territory, you know? Like as a white dude back then, like definitely strength in numbers was like a real thing for sure. So that makes sense, you know, that they kind of all knew each other out on the frontier to a degree, you know?
Right, yeah, for sure. The other thing I thought was crazy was how many also have Yellowstone and like Great Lakes stories of like being the first to come across them. I think he was one of the first to come across the geysers at Yellowstone in like the 1824, 1825 time frame.
Damn.
And then I think he also found the Great Lakes and thought it was part of the Pacific Ocean because it had salt in it.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, how do you find a Great Lake and not think you just found the end? Like, you're good, you know? Like,
so he was part of the discovery of the Great Salt Lake.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. They don't know if he was alone or not, but when he found it, but yeah, he was the one that found the Great Salt Lake, and he thought it was the Pacific Ocean. And he's got like a pass named after him, trails named after him now.
National Forest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like I said, I don't have definitely not as detailed as Drew's because I've just started. I've never really even looked into this until earlier.
Ski slope named after him, Bridger Bowl in Bozeman, Montana.
Yeah, I can see it, man. It's he's got a lot of shit. Like he ended up dying to the Comanches in like 1831.
Oof.
He went out, dude. Yeah.
Oof. Rough.
Yeah, that probably was painful.
Yeah.
They weren't known to let you die slow if they'd catch it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Santa Fe Trail, dog. Him and Jedediah Smith, who also died on the Santa Fe Trail by Comanches.
What is Jedediah Smith famous? That sounds. I mean, maybe that just
so familiar.
Yeah, it sounds familiar.
So
Yeah.
I was looking up his earlier. I don't remember exactly what his was, but he's one of like the most like if you Google like most famous mountain men or something, he's like the 3rd most famous one. But I can't remember off the top of my head why.
Yeah, I'll check it out. I'll take a look. No, yeah, it just sounds super familiar. It's probably just because that's like a super generic, whatever.
Right,
You know?
Yeah. Joe, who'd you have? Or who are you gonna talk about?
Joseph, you there? Did your internet die?
Sorry. No, it's here. I just didn't hit the fucking unmute button. I got old John Wesley Powell. I was just looking at Jebediah Smith though, because I read about him earlier too. And we were talking about the Comanches being really gruesome and stuff like that. And I remember Jebediah Smith was, he got scalped by one of the tribes.
Oof.
Just looking real fast, but
that's got to be brutal.
Yeah.
That's so rough.
And it nearly ripped like one ear off, I guess. And then
nearly.
So, pretty much. I don't
know.
It's
like worse than having it ripped off.
I know, man. But he has like a gnarly comb over for the rest of his life. So I mean, I would too. So
yeah.
But yeah, it's all these guys have, something in common. It's like you said, Rob, like they're either going to the military or something like that. Then after the military, they're going out west and they're just fucking. It seems like you're constantly fighting the Indians, no matter what group it is. Like it's a constant fight. And then besides that, besides falling off a fucking cliff or rattlesnakes or bears or something like that, it's just death all around you. So
they're just doing the damn thing.
Yeah, and it's funny. So with that being said, then John Wesley Powell, he wasn't necessarily known for being like a hardcore kind of a mountain man, but more so for being like a famous kind of explorer for the West. Kind of having that in common with everybody. And the reason why I picked John Wesley Powell was because he is the reason why it's named Lake Powell. John Wesley Powell, ultimately, he was the man that did the first trip down the Colorado River, which was through the Grand Canyon. And he's got a pretty interesting kind of life before that. Growing up early in his life, he was born in 1834. He was born over in New York, and his parents were pretty much poor, so he kind of did what he did. He was kind of an explorer. He liked geology and stuff like that. He liked rocks and kind of seeing where things came from. But as a kind of like a young teenager, he was moving around. He was born in New York. He moved to Illinois. He moved to Wisconsin. He moved Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, and stuff like that. And about 15, he took a trip down the Mississippi River, and he spent 4 months walking across Wisconsin, traveled down to the Mississippi, down to the sea. Then he rode down the Ohio River from Pittsburgh to the Mississippi River. Like he was just always crazy, kind of doing kind of these kind of explorers, exploring kind of stuff like that. When he kind of did his, after his exploring at the age of like 25, he kind of went over to Illinois, kind of tried to do school, excuse me, went to school for about 7 years, didn't really get a degree in anything, but, kind of learned Greek, he learned Latin, he learned about natural sciences, did a lot of stuff here and there.
Wait, this guy was a smart mountain man?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I've not heard of one of those yet.
I know, dude. He that's what I mean. He's kind of not the typical kind of mountain man. He's more of the adventurer kind of type.
Dude, that's cool.
Because
Sorry,
he did go to kind of go to school, but it was
he's like
not
a
too
Renaissance man or a polymorph.
That's a good way to put it. So, but and so you'll see that throughout his career too. He actually, after this, I'll tell you some other cool stuff that he did. But he eventually got his degree and stuff like that. But about this time after his education, though, the Civil War was beginning, and so he took up with the Union, and he was I'm looking this up real fast, but he was stationed at the Battle of Shiloh in 1861. And the first battle, he was an artillery officer, and when the battle began, dude, his fucking right arm was struck by a mini ball, and it tore off his fucking arm below the elbow.
Oh my god!
Damn! Oh my god!
But, dude, this motherfucker. Which goes on though. So despite the loss of the arm, he goes on and he goes to Champion Hill, goes to Big Black River Bridge, goes on to Big Black River, the Siege of Vicksburg, the Battle of Nashville.
Oh my god! That guy saw a lot of action,
dude, for sure.
Yeah,
and so this is all like around 1863, 1865. It's doing all this stuff. And so with this, he's got no fucking arm. He gets married, does this whole thing. And then after the war, he goes on to teaching, and he goes on to universities and stuff like that. And a bunch of universities, they offer him curator positions, and they offer him, kind of like these really cool, positions to work there. And he's like, fuck it, I adventures in my blood. I want to go down. I want to keep exploring. And so he goes off to the Rocky Mountains and explores the Rocky Mountains for a while, and brings his wife along with him. He's got, a couple other guys with him. He's doing this, he's doing that. But again, the big thing that he's really known for is in 1869, he sets out to explore the Colorado River down to the Grand Canyon. And it's they bring him enough food and stuff like that for 10 months. It ended up lasting about 3 months, and he must have been a real dick to work with, because like halfway through the trip, dude, or excuse me, about 3 months, about 3 guys, they're like, they just have enough with this guy's crap pretty much. And they're like, you know what, we're fucking done. We're hiking up the fucking Grand Canyon. We're getting the fuck out of here, and we're never going to see you again. This was a trip full of 9 individuals. And so the remaining, I want to say at this point, there was 4 individuals remaining. In the next 2 days, they got out of the Grand Canyon and went to Lake Mead over in Nevada. And so they escaped. They had a good time. They routed out the Grand Canyon and this and that. Those 3 guys that fucking decided to leave were fucking killed by Indians, presumed. That's what they say. But if they just would have held on for a couple more days, they would have been fine.
Damn.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, so he, does that whole thing, and he maps out the Colorado River, maps out the Grand Canyon, Lake Mead, this and that. He's kind of recognized right now, obviously for being a war hero. He's did this, and now he's mapping out the Grand Canyon. So in 1881, let's just call it the 1880s, he becomes the 2nd director of the U.S. Geological Survey. And so he rides that for about a decade, and then retires, like around the 1900s, and then kind of dies. Let me look at it real fast. He dies in September 23rd, 1902 in Maine. So the guy, he was from the East Coast, going back and forth, doing this and that. But yeah, man, kind of cool guy, man. And again, the kind of reason why I picked him is, we're close to Lake Powell, and we were just at Powell, and I think it's kind of cool that he mapped out everything over here. So
that's a really cool story.
No, yeah, that is interesting, man. Especially because I haven't really seen too many of these guys that are like super educated or working at universities. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I never kind of wrapped it up with that, but he did eventually get his PhD in some degrees. I forget. I don't have them in front of me, but
he's the science mountain, man.
Harvard. Yeah.
Yeah, I would never expect you to come across one that was like that educated,
Yeah, I mean, as far Definitely. As when I was thinking about doing mine, I was thinking about doing Bad Hand, right? Randall McKenzie or whatever, Randall McKenzie. He basically was like he went to the military academy, right? So like he went to West Point, and he was pretty educated. But that's why I chose not to do him, was because he wasn't so much a mountain man. He wasn't so much a mountain man as much as he was like a soldier and like a famous Indian fighter. Although he's got he's got some clout as a mountain man, because he fought the Comanches and lived out in the Western Territories, just living off the land completely. He would go to a fort and then ride out from a fort for months and months at a time, basically conducting what the Comanches were conducting against us, like that guerrilla warfare. He's doing the same thing against them. Dude, his story is actually
cool, man.
I was thinking about doing it too, and talk to Mike about it too. Like, talk a little bit about him. But like I said, he's a soldier, so I don't know. But yeah,
that's
it's cool.
The same reason, Rob. I didn't end up, when I read about him today, I was like, that's it. If you ever want to hear about a fucking crazy military career, dude got fucking wounded like 9 times in like every battle in the Civil War. Like, and then goes and fights Indians, and like
9 times.
Yeah, those aren't like small wounds that you get now too.
That's
those
what
are like cannonballs.
Dude, it's imagine getting shot and wounded back in the Civil War time of like, oh well, all right, well, rip,
we already
just
heard
drink this whiskey.
The fucking mini ball blew off fucking Powell's poor arm.
Dude. Yeah, but that's Rob. The same reason why I was like, that's super cool, but it's not mountain man as much as more military career, of having a great military career, but not as much of like a mountain man style, you know.
That's how I felt about Powell too, but I figured just to kind of throw a little curveball in there, you know. So, like you said, maybe not so much mountain man, but definitely explore.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
No, yeah,
well, it's more that like he like Powell like discovered stuff and found stuff, and Bad Hand more just was like just a really good like military. Yeah, and then he had his mountain man aspect of like fighting in those terrains too, but not as much of like the explorer side of a lot of the other mountain men that we're talking about. Discovering stuff, being the first to places. Like
He's not leading expeditions up the Grand Teton for the first time.
No, not really.
And then having your whole entire family get smallpox and die. Oh.
Dude, when I read that, I was like, I had to
Bad
read it
luck,
twice.
bro.
I was like, fuck, man.
Seriously.
Dude.
All right,
doing the right thing, getting the worst result out of it.
No good deed goes unpunished.
Dude, if my wife or kids ever die, that's what I expect you to say, Drew.
Bad luck.
Bad luck. Win some, you lose some.
Unlucky.
All right, Joe. So you want to get on the Xbox now that you don't have to worry about a family?
You got a lot more free time now. No, that's not.
There's no reason why you can't game.
Well, Joe, it's already going to be set up. You're going to deliver a baby 16 years earlier. It's all going to be good.
I'm fucked.
All right, I'm jumping into mine. I'll close mine out real quick. So I know I said I didn't do Randall McKenzie because he wasn't like necessarily a mountain man. This guy was a mountain man, but also kind of was just more of like a notorious drunk and straight up Indian fighter. So he kind of doesn't necessarily fit the normal mold of like an explorer who's the first to reach stuff. And pretty much nothing about his life is verifiable. It's pretty much all just, hearsay and legend. But basically, who I'm going to talk about is Jeremiah Liver Eaton Johnson. And so he was born in New Jersey, actually with a different name, John Jeremiah Garrison Johnston with a T. And he ended up deserting from the Navy. Smart man.
Attaboy.
He changed his name just to John Johnson, keeping it simple, when he got out west so that he wouldn't get caught for treason, basically, you know what I mean? Because they'll string you up for deserting the Navy. And so basically, anyway, back to his early life. I mean, the dude, he, as a young man, his father was like a terrible drunk who basically used to beat him all the time and then used him as forced labor to pay off his debts. So like his dad would get drunk in a bar and like make a bet with somebody, lose, and then make his kid go work the debt off on that guy's farm or something like that. So the dude had like an excruciatingly hard life, like from the start. And probably, was groomed from a young age to not be the nicest guy. So kind of cut for the whole, exploring the elements type of guy. And anyway, he was known when he came into his adulthood as like a drunk, violent, quick-tempered dude. So, kind of makes sense that, he was raised in that type of environment. But anyway, as soon as he was old enough, he basically, he busted out of that area. Like I said, he didn't join the Navy first. He actually took work as a whaler on a coastal schooner. And so he took work as a whaler and he did it for 12 years and spent 12 years at sea, dude. And basically when
that's not an easy life either.
No, dude, it's crazy. Like I couldn't imagine it hunting whales, but I mean, hey, and a tiny little boat too. Like it's not like that, it's like a little wooden boat, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know the first thing about it. Maybe it's easier than it looks, but basically the Mexican-American War broke out like in 1846. And he was around like 22 years old at the time. So he joined the Navy. He ended up, and these are like, loosely confirmed reports that I could find. I tried to find as many academic sources as I can, but there's not a lot from this time. But essentially, a buddy of his that was on the ship with him was getting berated and punished by this officer. I guess he punched the officer in the throat and knocked him out. So he KO'd him with a throat punch. And they put him on the brig in the ship. So he's stuck underneath and they left him in there for 30 days. And so the first time that they let him off the ship and touch dry land, he deserted. He just ran away. So he deserts from the Navy during the time of war. So you're definitely going to get killed for that. So he's like, all right, you know what? I'm wandering out west. Makes it as far as California, trying to cover his tracks. And they believe that during this time, he was doing any number of odd jobs that existed during the day, right? But mainly he was trying to pan for gold during the gold rush. That's what they're thinking, he was really focused on. Once he was done there, done doing some gold mining, obviously didn't hit it rich. So he started moving, east, went through Colorado, Wyoming. He ended up in Montana in a place in a place called the Outer Gulch Territory. And basically he, became a woodcutter, a trapper. He was an extremely big and physically fit dude. He was described as just a block of muscle, above 6 feet tall and 260 pounds. So, I mean, he's a pretty fearsome and large human being. So he took on a lot of like manual labor jobs and a lot of criminal jobs. He was actually a bootlegger for a long time. But mostly focused on hunting, trapping, and woodcutting being like his thing. He ends up meeting this guy named JX Bidler, who becomes kind of like his dude, that he runs around with and does all types of stuff with. And they kind of, do the whole woodworking thing. And like I said, they're in Montana. Now here's where the legend starts. So I wanted to kind of just real quick deviate from the story and talk about that. There was a major feature film made after this guy called Jeremiah Johnson. It was Robert Redford played Jeremiah Johnson. And, they church up a lot of the legend in that. So a lot of this stuff is not necessarily, like I said, confirmed, and no one really knows what happened. But the movie kind of portrays it in a way that's somewhat, kind of to a degree close to it. But if you guys haven't seen the movie, it's worth a watch. It's pretty cool. But basically, the legend says that around this time, he ends up meeting a woman from the Flathead Indian tribe, and supposedly he did the hard facts are he did travel with this woman who typically referred to herself as his companion or wife. But that may have just been because they were trying to avoid trouble, you know what I mean? And he may have just been escorting her somewhere, or who knows what was going on. But supposedly this woman was his wife. She became pregnant. He built like a little cabin in the woods. He was, just living his life, being a trapper. And his home was raided by the Crow Indian. And the Crow Indian were like a famous war tribe. And the Crow Indian were super famous for actually just one-on-one fighting. They didn't do a ton of like band, like we're going to take 20 dudes and come and kill you. It was more like, hey, we're going to find you. We're going to seek you out. And we'll let our best warrior kill you one-on-one. But every now and again, obviously, we all break the rules, and they would do band fighting as well. But mostly, that's what they were famous for. And so, anyway, they have this cabin. Things are great, and the Crow end up raiding his little farm, his little homestead that he has. They kill his pregnant wife and burn down the home. And so, from that point forward, he becomes the mortal enemy of the Crow Indian, and essentially lives out in the woods and seeks to engage them wherever he can find them. And some of the legends say that he killed up to 300 of them, to the point where they were so afraid of this dude that they started changing their own habits, like how they would follow herds or how they would operate as a just as a band of natives. They completely changed their own habits because of this guy. And like I said, a lot of this is all unverifiable, and it's some say that he actually even was, not even an enemy of the Crow, and he killed a certain amount of Crow to the point where they respected him and actually welcomed him into the tribe. So, there's a lot of conflicting stories, but the legend that makes him, Liver Eating Johnson is this legend right here that I'm telling you. So that's why I'm kind of sticking with that. But don't try to fact check me. But anyway, the reason why they call him Liver Eating Johnson is because he would kill you, then cut out your liver and eat it. And part of the reason why he did that was because the Crow Indian viewed the liver as a sacred, and, for ritualistic purposes, the liver was actually the gateway to the next life. And so by him cutting out the liver and eating it, it was like the ultimate insult, and it denied whoever the warrior was that he killed, entrance into the afterlife, which is like, if you think about it, it's pretty fucked up and pretty crazy. And especially because he would just cut it out and eat it raw. It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, man style.
And he's actually known to have done it officially on one occasion, but not against the Crow. He killed and cut out and ate a portion of the liver of a Sioux Indian that attacked him and that associate that I mentioned, JX Bidler, who becomes important to the story in a little bit. That's why I deviated from him for a sec. But yeah, basically, that's why they ended up calling him Liver Eating Johnson. So he's hunting these guys down. He's killing them for most of his life. And that's kind of how the legend goes for about 25 years until he makes peace with them. So this dude lives in Crow territory and fights the Crow Indians, sometimes in one-on-one combat, sometimes in band combat. There's one documented case where a chief of the Crow sent out a war band of 20 warriors, and none of them ever came back. And it's attributed to him. So the dude's no joke, man. But at one point during this whole thing, he ends up getting abducted by the Blackfoot tribe, and they want to hold him for ransom. And so they like strap him down in a teepee, forgetting who they're dealing with. And the dude busts out of there. He, kills the guard that's guarding him, or knocks him, incapacitates him somehow, escapes from this camp. And he's wandering through the woods for some long period of time with pretty much no supplies. And, typical of old Western folklore, he runs into his old buddy, JX Bidler, who ends up helping him out and saving his life. So pretty interesting stuff. He ends up, like I said, living a pretty kind of subtle life after that. After, peace with the Crow and everything, he ends up dying out in California. But yeah, I think the dude, like from the whole perspective of like a mountain man, like, the dude was obviously like a really good mountain man as far as like wood, like, being a woodcutter, as far as like a trapper, things like that. But then, yeah, like fighting Crow Indians for one-on-one combat for 20 years sounds like a pretty solid qualification.
Dude, yeah, for sure.
But yeah, some of his other highlights, he fought in the Civil War. There's documentation that he did fight in the Battle of Westport officially, and was wounded there twice. So like the dude, he also, but his time in the military was cut pretty short, just like always, because he's a drunk, man. He constantly was, looking for whiskey. So, and he's a big bootlegger. So it's kind of hard to survive military life like that when you're always getting drunk.
Unless you're Grant.
And back then, that was what I forgot to mention is it was called hawking. I didn't know that. When you were a woodcutter back in the day, that was like an official job, like a well-respected job, was being a hawker, because out in these areas where you would go and log for trees, it was all Indian territory. So like if you got caught out there with your pants down, you would be killed. And that's where his like one documented case of eating the liver of a Sioux Indian was actually recorded, was because he was out there hawking, and they got raided by some Sioux Indians, and it was a band of 6 of them. They repelled the assault, killed one of them, and Jeremiah Johnson cut his liver out and ate it. And people were like, "Oh, dude, you're a pretty crazy guy." So you're now named Jeremiah Liver Eating Johnson. But yeah,
that's pretty badass.
If you ever watch the movie, man, I think you guys would really like it. I mean, Robert Redford's great. And like, it was the first time that I come from the East Coast. So like, we don't have mountain men here. We don't really even have mountains here. So, it's kind of in the Northeast. It's kind of hard to come by these kind of stories. And so like, that was how I got turned on to this guy, was first by the movie. But, he definitely, from the perspective of being an Indian fighter, he's not as good as Bad Hand. Like Bad Hand was an official Indian fighter, like with an official body count, and actually won like serious fights where he was numerically and tactically, outpositioned and outnumbered. But still, yeah, awesome story, man, and super fun to kind of ruminate on these dudes and how they kind of established the Western lifestyle.
Yeah. Could you imagine being just slightly over 6 foot and 260 pounds back then? That dude fucking built like a brick shit house.
Right.
Probably rip a tree right out of the ground.
5'3", like you were talking about, 5'3", 5'5" was probably like the average person size.
No, not average. That was like kind of how the were described though.
The Indians.
Yeah, the Indians
Americans.
more smaller they were smaller in stature.
Well,
just even Civil War. I mean, you go back and look at the uniforms are way smaller.
Right, the average Civil War soldier was 5'6", 130 pounds.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
dude, they got to step it up, man. God, they got to
get that corn fed.
Yeah, exactly. Right. That was probably the problem. They were just only eating corn all the time, like corn soup, corn on the cob.
They're eating hardtack, bro, breaking their teeth.
Oh, hardtack, dude. Could you imagine? That's like what your horse is supposed to eat.
What's
You're out-
what's hardtack? What's
Jesus.
hardtack?
That's the issued food they would give out to the Civil War soldiers. Is basically it would have to be dipped in like water, like a stew or like your soup or whatever, to like eat it because it was so hard. That's why it's called hardtack.
Damn.
Think about
it's like an MRE block that you had to dip in something.
Right, I was gonna say, think about like the MRE bread, but it has like it has the hardness of a diamond.
Yeah, hardcore cracker form, dude. Yeah, like straight up, like break your teeth cracker form.
Yeah.
Dude.
But yeah, I think the embellishments that they made in the movie were really awesome. Like he's like living on his homestead with his wife and stuff, and like these Union soldiers that have like a wagon train that's busted down come to him for help, but he has to lead them through like a Crow Indian burial ground, and that's what starts the beef. It's actually like they did a good job kind of recreating it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good movie. Like if you like those old westerns too, like it just hits it right on the head. And even if you like the like kind of adventure and explore kind of movies, like it's a fun one, dude. That was always a good one. That and the Lost Dogman. I don't know if you guys ever saw that one, but that was pretty good.
No, I haven't.
I was joking with Rob about my mountain man was gonna be John Wayne.
Yeah, that's not Mountain Man, dude. You can't do that.
You mean that coward who purposely avoided the draft to get out of World War II?
Oh, here we go. That's it.
No,
That's
dude,
it.
He was a cowboy, bro.
Drew's getting fired up. Let's hear it.
What are you talking about? He wasn't around when World War II was going on. He was a cowboy.
Played
right
on The Longest Day.
I know, right? Ironic. That's the actual definition of ironic.
All right, so I got to hear it though. Wait, so how did he drafted it, or like excuse me,
he's a actual famous draft dodger. Completely avoided World War II on purpose, and then once he became an actor, he felt guilty, so like he spent the rest of his life pretending to be World War II soldiers.
Yeah,
cowboys.
How old is he?
He was probably pretty young.
Yeah, he didn't start
to get drafted.
Yeah, he didn't start actually making movies until the late, like right after war, like 46 to 50, and he was like probably mid 20s then. So he was probably like, he was just born like early 20. Yeah, so
yeah.
Yeah, 1907 May.
I didn't know anything about him being a draft dodger, but like I mean, pretty much everybody in government is. I mean, John Bolton, who's like the most hawkish war dude ever, is an open draft dodger. I mean, Donald Trump's a draft dodger. You know, lots of dudes in government.
My dad's a draft dodger.
My father-in-law.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, my dad. Well, I mean, I think my dad wanted to be a lawyer, but I mean, he specifically went to law school, so he didn't have to go to Vietnam.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess when I'm thinking about that, like, I don't know how I probably would have took one on the chin and just died for my country and bitched about it wherever the fuck I go after. But like, I don't know. I mean, it is messed up, man. It is kind of like in hindsight,
My father-in-law flunked what? 12th grade. I think it was 3 years in a row. So he had to go to Vietnam.
Oh, really?
Damn.
See,
and then my dad volunteered for Air Force. So it's like quite the opposite,
Yeah. See, I think my dad was finishing up law school, and I think the war had dragged on long enough to where like he could still potentially be drafted. And I think he was looking into like going with like a Army Reserve or like an Air Force Reserve, like JAG Corps, that like he'd basically probably never see combat if he had to go in.
Right.
Looking at like if the war ended up extending, I think, but it ended, I think, and he was all good.
Yeah, my dad
especially towards the end, dude.
I was gonna say my dad joined the Marine Corps right after Vietnam ended, so he wasn't in the draft, like, or able to be in the draft. He was a little too young, but he ended up joining in like the late 70s, early 80s, I think, like right after it ended.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go to Vietnam either. I mean, World War II would probably be a little bit different, but I'm not trying to
especially
Nah,
early Vietnam, dude. Like the
Right.
early
Fuck,
65 to like 69, dude. Like
Yeah.
M16s failing all over the top, all over the place.
I'm not trying to fall into a punji pit.
Fuck no, dude.
Dude, I just don't want to be around the snakes,
Dude.
man.
I forgot to tell you. I don't know if that guy's ever told you this, but my uncle, he's down in Sierra Vista. He was a Green Beret back in the day. But he was fucking captured in fucking Vietnam. He was a POW.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Bro, his name's Uncle Phil. I'll give you some pictures and stuff. He's not doing too good right now. So
well, no shit, man. He was fucking POW in Vietnam.
But he escaped being a fucking POW in Vietnam. That's the best part of it, man. Like the
That's
guy,
pretty
he's
awesome.
fucking
Was he
cool.
part of like
That's
the,
pretty awesome.
How do you even escape? Where do you go?
Dude, you fucking
Like,
run
where
into
do you go?
Was he part of like the
fucking-
SOG shit or like
he was
SOG
part of
Mac
first
stuff?
group. I really don't know a lot about him. I've tried to look some stuff up. He really kind of kept it quiet. Like my dad
Yeah,
and
he doesn't like talking about it, right?
Yeah, my dad and my uncle never talked about the war or anything like that. My like I said, my dad was in the Air Force. My uncle Phil was in Vietnam as a SF dude, and I've heard maybe a handful of stories from him. But I know
they
he's
just
first
got
group. I looked up his
declassified.
credentials.
They just got declassified like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
just got declassified because like I found out about it through like a bunch of the books that came out, and one of them was saying how they only got declassified in like maybe the 90s or something.
What got
Okay.
declassified?
The Max Sog.
Max Sog shit. And people were able to talk about it and everything. And if he was a Green Beret in Vietnam, it was probably a good chance he's probably part of that. Which is probably why I didn't talk about it. And now they finally got declassified like maybe 10 or 20 years ago, where the people could actually talk about it.
Well, Donald Trump likes his soldiers not captured. So
Right.
not
Yes,
doing
Uncle
good
Phil.
for Donald Trump's book.
That's
You
right.
done fucked up, Uncle Phil. But hey, he got out of it. He corrected the issue. So
Right? Yeah.
Jesus.
I mean, it's kind of like a oopsies. You just
Yeah. So, what does Donald Trump think about people that escaped POW camp?
Right.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Ask
That's
him
a
about
good-
that.
I'll hit him on Twitter real quick. Hold up.
All right.
Extra points,
We got a deep question for you.
He might reply, dude. He's just sitting around watching Twitter or some news source, anyways.
Dude,
Yeah,
he
unless
tweets like
it's,
a
dinner
madman.
time.
Did you guys see him tweet the Babylon Bee?
Yeah,
retweeted
Yes.
God, dude, it just- I don't know. Did you guys watch the town halls?
No.
I
No.
I
didn't.
mean, probably not at the same time, considering that they're at the same time. But like,
I heard a lot about him, but I didn't watch either of them. Did you?
Yeah, I mean, I watched what I could tolerate. I mean, it was like Trump got absolutely slammed. It was like on his side, it was more like a debate with this lady just talking over him the whole time. She was not. I don't know. She did what like you would assume most people want her to do, which is just like shout him down and rage against the machine. Donald Trump's a bad guy, so like give it to him. So that's what she did. And then, like for instance, she's like, oh yeah, would you, one of the questions she asked was, would you condemn white supremacy? He's like, this time he didn't fuck it up. And he was actually like, yes, I will. I do. I condemn white supremacy. And she's like, well, you didn't sound too enthusiastic about it. It's like, what? Like,
Yeah, I saw that clip, and that was ridiculous.
yeah. So like, it was
He
stuff
had an
like that.
explosion.
And, Biden just got a lot of softballs. I thought his was, there were some things that were all right. It's like, but the issues that like I personally care on, they didn't really ask any challenging questions, in my opinion. So it was like, I didn't really like how they were done. And then they were in-person town halls. So like, I'm still wondering why we didn't have a debate. Like, why didn't they just have it?
The debate commission canceled it. The debate commission.
I understand that. Yeah, I know that. I'm just, rhetorically saying, like,
yeah.
the fuck's the point, man? Like, we should have just had a debate. It was all in person.
In town hall, then why? Yeah.
Because Trump was the biological weapon that was going to take Joe Biden out for good.
I mean, if I was Joe Biden, I'd be
biological
too, man. Like Biden already he looks like he's got the suds every time I see him on TV, man. So like, he's not looking good. So like, I mean, I would probably want to be playing it safe too.
What about the whole Hunter shit? Like,
Yeah, I was just going to ask that if that came up at all.
Yeah.
Woof.
Not once,
Like-
from what I heard.
No,
Well, I heard
yeah,
also it's
zero-
been censored
zero
on
question.
like Facebook and Twitter too, as far as like some of the posts and shit. Like,
Yeah, so Twitter, I'm not sure exactly what policy Facebook censored it on, but Twitter censored its dissemination because it violated their, it violated their doxing rules. So like for everybody that might not know what doxing is, not trying to patronize you, but just real quick, if you basically make a comment in the internet and then I trace your IP address and I find out your actual address, your phone number, your name, and then I disseminate that to the public so that they can abuse you and intimidate you for your opinions, that's doxing. And so Twitter censored it as doxing. I'm not really personally, I don't know how that makes sense. They might have used that same crafty lawyer they had on Joe Rogan or something to make it. Yeah, I don't know exactly how that works, but yeah, they did censor it to some degree or to a large degree. And yeah, I mean the whole background on it is that like the dude, number one, had like weird ass pictures of himself with a crack pipe in his mouth on his laptop. He like took it to some random
It could be weed.
repair shop. I mean, could it though? Can you smoke weed out of one of those? I don't think you can. I don't.
No, dude.
smoke weed out
I
of
was
that.
just being sarcastic.
Oh,
though.
I
That's
was
a
like-
fucking crack pipe.
Unless there's some weed that I don't know how to use. I mean, that's bizarre. But
The
yeah,
most ambitious selfies known to man.
yeah,
bro, I wanted to
exactly.
talk about like how they found the laptop. Like,
Well, that's what I'm
story-
saying. He brought it to a computer repair shop and then tried to stiff them on the bill. So they were like, "Oh, fuck you, dude," and they just released the pictures to the New York Post. So it's like it's actually just like really ridiculous. It's like a ridiculous story in and of itself. And then basically, the C lawyers come to the bench and they're like, "Oh, well, since Hunter Biden turned over the laptop, when they gave it to the repair shop, and if he doesn't pay the bill, then technically the shop has like a lien on the property for doing the work, so it becomes their property." And they're trying to like justify it, and Twitter's trying to justify it. It's just a big nightmare. You know what I mean?
Well, it doesn't matter from their aspect to the rest of the world because all the rest of the world got was the pictures. Whatever happens to that shop that released them or the people, no one's going to care about it anymore because of the fact that they got those pictures, right? That's all anybody cares about.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like, I guess now that the pictures are out, like whether or not how they obtain the pictures, whether it was through like a lien because he didn't pay, or if it was the shop's property or not, or it was their right to release them or not. It's kind of like, yeah, they're gonna face that legal battle, but the pictures are already out, so that's what kind of is gonna grab most of the people's attention is the pictures.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. That makes sense. Yeah. For sure.
I heard a story that it was left unattended at an airport and then after it was unclaimed for an X amount of period of time, they scanned the hard drives and found all the pictures. That's the story I heard, which is why I wanted to bring it up because there's people are also throwing the conspiracy theory around that, like how it was obtained.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, is that, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, that was the first way. I'd never heard about it at the repair shop side. I've never seen that anywhere. I've just seen left it unattended at an airport.
Only narrative I've seen.
Which one?
Interesting.
The repair shop thing.
Yeah. I hadn't seen anything like that.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Basically, it was like, basically it was like Rudy Giuliani is involved in this. I guess his attorney, I don't know. I thought Rudy Giuliani was an attorney. I guess he has an attorney himself. I don't know. Everybody's a lawyer. Everybody's got lawyers. Anyway, his attorney got it from the owner of a computer repair shop in Delaware. For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was like supposedly left there for like months at a time. That at least, I mean, I say
Because it
for
found the
sure,
bathtub.
that's like I don't know.
You
that
for sure heard it from that source.
That's the story that I've seen proliferated across the internet.
I gotta
Yeah,
say,
that's-
more disturbingly though about the story, I think it's just the Twitter. How it, like this is just another example how they're blocking shit. They're biased against, they have their opinion. They're biased against Trump. They're biased against, whatever. So it's just only a matter of time till you get your shit taken down.
No, it's super true, man. I mean, the censorship thing's a big deal for sure.
It's not just
again,
Twitter and
it's-
Facebook either, even though they're actively, even though they said that they've removed it. Like go ahead and try to find it on a news feed. You can't find it on Google News or Apple News, or you're not gonna. It's not gonna come to the top of the front page on Reddit. Like the only way you can find any of the Hunter Biden stuff is you actively have to go search it out.
Yeah,
so it's purposely being suppressed.
Find those small aspects that they haven't found yet that you can still find it at because it's been deleted everywhere else.
Can we talk about the fucking garbage of a human being that is Hunter Biden?
I don't understand. Like, the guy has obviously he's obviously just a straight up drug addict. Like, he got into the Navy on a drug waiver. He got kicked out of the Navy almost immediately for a drug violation. Like, now we have pictures of him with crack pipe in his mouth. Like, I mean,
keep it on your hard drive. Why do you keep that on your hard drive? Like, why? Like, why do you think those are flattering pictures that you want to like hold on to and reminisce about in the future? You know, like
that let the guy look good, man.
Yeah. Well, that's not even the most damning thing about the laptop. Is like the unsubstantiated or like unconfirmed reports that the laptop actually has the email of him arranging the meeting with the Burisma leadership to meet his father.
Yeah, definitely.
That's I did see that
damning evidence that like has supposedly come from them, and no one's talking about that. Like, I mean, nobody. I mean, that seemed to all go over, just about as well as the Trump impeachment did. But why the fuck that a guy who doesn't speak Ukrainian, or I shouldn't say doesn't speak Russian, is getting a job with a Ukrainian gas and oil company as a board member to sit on the board and get paid millions of dollars or $1 million a year. He doesn't even speak the fucking language to make decisions on the board.
Yeah, that part
but he's sitting on the board.
Crazy. Yeah, I don't get any of that shit. I mean, I don't know, man. It's it all comes down to those big connections, I guess. And yeah, he's got them, so that's how he got in there. But
hey, when you got big
pops, the election at all?
What's up?
Do you think it affects the election at all, or do you think it's just a headline that's going to pass and really not sway any voters?
Dude, to be completely honest, man, like, I don't even know what to make of the election anymore because, like, Trump is just such a shit show, and he, like, doesn't necessarily need to be, but, he just says so much crazy shit all the time. And then, like, like with his Twitter, for instance, we were talking about the Twitter thing earlier, like, Trump will never apologize, right? And I'm not saying that maybe he should apologize because we've talked about that here before, that like apologizing today is probably not the best course of action because that's just an admission of guilt. Yeah. And now you're dead. Yeah. But mostly it's like, dude, if you post a bunch of crazy shit, like a bunch of conspiracy, like he posted a conspiracy theory that Osama bin Laden hadn't been killed in the raid. It was actually a body double, right? Like,
yeah.
It's not like he posts like shit where it's like, oh yeah, that's a little weird, and it's like, no, like that's really, really weird, right? So like, and then the problem is because he doesn't have the bone in his body to admit any form of wrongdoing, he doubles down on it. And I think he's just losing tons of people to that. I think he's hemorrhaging people because of how he doubles down on that stuff. It's just not good. But
and he's super petty too about stupid shit.
For sure.
For example, everyone freaking out about him denying federal funds, like FEMA funds for California, because Gavin Newsom requested it early this week and he denied it. And then people are all up in the arms of the thing. And then it's just like a story gets published today. It's like, oh no, they'll get federal funding. And it's just like, you're being so petty for like no reason. Like, I get it. I hate Gavin Newsom. We all hate Gavin Newsom. No one likes Gavin, except for Gavin Newsom. But like, I get it. You don't want to give him the money, but you just did in the end anyway. So you're just being petty for no reason.
Yeah, he's not presidential. There's no doubt about it. I wish he was. I wish he would fucking be a president, step up and put that shit behind him, and understand that he has a position in the government that leads, his population in this country now. But it's just too bad. I'm with you on that one.
What about the whole like? I've seen some stuff about like testing Biden for cognitive abilities before his inauguration. Have you guys seen anything about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think any of that shit has any legs. Yeah, they're not going to test anybody for anything. I mean, they made him like color, like, I don't know, draw pictures of elephants or something like. I don't know what the fuck they did. It was like something like a third grader could do or something. Yeah, I don't think there's going to be any of that. The same way that like there's not going to be any drug testing. None of that stuff's going to happen. But yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Do you guys think we get a
ACB is going to get confirmed? So that's 50 years of conservative power. You know what I mean? As opposed to 4 more years. So I mean, I don't know. That to me is probably more important and more. It's something we should focus on a little bit more. I think right now. I don't know.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we should, for one of our viewers, go over what the Third Amendment is and how it's important for the Second Amendment. I think particularly somebody we all know would really love that. I know it's Rob's favorite amendment. We were talking about it earlier in the chat.
Wait, are you serious?
Yeah, I know one of us in the chat would really like to know what the Third Amendment is and how it's important for the Second Amendment.
I mean, if you want to know what the Third Amendment is, just Google it. It's basically you can't. No soldier can just quarter in your house whenever they want to.
In time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a matter to be prescribed by law.
It's my favorite amendment, joking around, because I think it's like the most useless. I don't think there's any soldiers that are going to want to. Is my National Guard buddy going to want to crash on my house and I can invoke my Third Amendment or something? Like I don't really see myself being at risk of being, having my house quartered by soldiers anymore. So it's actually just
I'd like to use my Third Amendment now, please.
I mean, if we're going to be I was joking around. It's like, yeah, it is my favorite amendment, like as a joke. But I don't know.
No, that's kind of what I was getting at. It's funny, but no one knows like what the other amendments are besides, the couple that they realize about,
Oh yeah, I mean everybody cares about the first and the second, and then typically that's kind of where it stops, right? People don't really care about. I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, what else do people care about?
They don't care about Fourth Amendment rights. They don't care about Third Amendment rights. They don't care about any of that shit.
There's more than 2 or 3 amendments. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Just like the second, freedom of speech, and then the Third Amendment. That was it, right? There's only 3.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the only ones you need.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's easy. 3 things. I can remember that.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know, Drew, if you were serious about it or not. I'm not sure if the third gives a lot of context to the Second Amendment. I mean, I think the Second Amendment already has the context that it has, but that could be true.
No, it's just it's an argument that I heard, because it is a ridiculous amendment, but like I know somebody who was in games, media, or journalism who like takes that super seriously to the point where he has it tattooed on his arm.
Oh,
and he's like, it gives context to the Second Amendment. And I was like, bold move. That's a mistake.
Damn.
Yeah, unlike you, he unironically likes the Third Amendment, and he's
that's
like,
probably like that's the
his argument.
Yeah.
Right, his argument is that it gives context for the Second Amendment, and I'm just like, well, I'm pretty sure the context of the Second Amendment is in the context of the Second Amendment.
Right, yeah. I mean, the Third Amendment's fine. I just don't really think we're ever like it made sense then, right? Like if you
because you were being forced to house, British soldiers in your house and give them food and shelter, and all. So like it was a big deal to them. So that's why they wrote like in a way it was an important issue at the time. It was prescient at the time. But 200 some years later almost, that probably needs to be maybe we get a new one in there. Let's play that one.
We can squeeze that one out of the run.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like if the army was knocking at your door, that like because you have the Second Amendment, but like I don't know, what are you gonna have a shootout with the army? Like if they had like an APC, you lose. You know what I mean? Like
right, they're occupying your town, and you're just gonna all of a sudden start a shootout because they want to occupy your house as like their headquarters. You're probably gonna lose.
Yeah, you're just kind of right back at the Second Amendment again. So like, just take your rifle and run away from the army, let them have your house, and then fight the guerrilla fight so you can ruin.
That's right, Wolverines.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Definitely don't want to
go into
just
the mountains.
try to bang it out against a superior force with better equipment. Just sounds stupid. But yeah,
That's
I don't
just
know.
a better life.
If that guy he's got the Third Amendment tattooed on his arm, you're not kidding about that?
I'm not kidding, dude.
That's unreal, dude. That's unreal.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, I guess,
I mean, you want me to name him? I can throw it out there.
No, it's just, I mean, that's a real patriot right there. Maybe we could do it after the show. We'll talk
Yeah.
about it. That's a real patriot, man. He went for the third. Oh my God. That's so funny. Anyway, if guys are out there listening, girls are out there listening, if you really want to get a good laugh, find the Third Amendment Twitter. It's really funny. I could probably just link it in chat really quick too. It's hilarious.
So you did bring up Amy Cohen Barrett a little bit earlier too. And what do you guys think? We only have a couple minutes left, for the podcast. I don't know if you guys have anything else you'd like to talk about, but I would like to get your thoughts on this week's hearings. Kind of, what do you think about them?
Old Connie B.
Oh, Connie B.
I mean,
I watch a lot of her confirmation stuff. I mean, she's smart. She's super smart. She's smarter than probably everybody in the room. But
that's what it seems like.
She didn't bring any notes or anything, right? Was one thing that they were like highlighting on is like,
but then simultaneously,
is that significant?
Simultaneously, she couldn't also name like the freedoms guaranteed to us by the First Amendment. So she kind of got stuck on that. So I mean, you look smart, you look dumb. It's a give and take, right? It's kind of how it happens.
Right. Yeah. You look confident, but also look dumb at the same time. And we were seeing a lot of her like, and obviously I didn't watch the confirmation hearings, so. This might be just shit I got duped into reading on the interwebs, but like a lot of like when they asked her like thoughts or policies on stuff, she was like, "I don't have any thoughts. I don't have any opinions." Kind of just kept it very neutral.
Well, we talked about that with the RBG thing. Is that like that is actually like not to make this like a super partisan talk, but that was created by the Democrats, right? Like, they don't want people to, and that happened with RBG, and RBG supported it when it happened, I believe, to Scalia as well. They essentially don't want a judge to have to admit to what their policy positions are personally, because then that will set the precedent as if or it'll create the appearance that that's how that judge will rule over cases when they're on the bench. And
right, it's supposed to be an apolitical standard.
Right.
Follow.
Yeah. That's why they brought up like that's the fact she owns a gun and like everything, or like question her about that type of stuff too.
Yeah, they question her about everything. It's like but a lot of that stuff is categorically a mistake, right? Like I know exactly what you're talking about. I forget, it wasn't Klobuchar who asked her that question, but Klobuchar had like a litany of absolutely stupid questions. I mean, she just sounded like such an idiot. But yeah, thank God that lady's not going to be taking any power here anymore.
It was the senator from Hawaii. I forget what her name was.
Oh, that's
was it? He asked, like, have you ever raped anybody? It wasn't,
that. Yes, dude.
Mazzy Harino.
Yeah, dude.
Was she the one? Was she the one that said sexual preference is an offensive term?
Yeah. Yep. And then she also, like Joe said, she proceeded to ask her if she'd ever committed sexual assault or rape. It's like, that's totally. That's like there were like, it was like part C-SPAN, right? Like a majority of this was like watching C-SPAN. It'll just put you to bed, right? Like it's just boring stuff. But then every now and again, you'd have these people who ask this stuff. Like I, with Mike's example of the gun thing, it's like, well, have you ever had an abortion? Well, then no. If you haven't had an abortion, then I guess you can't rule over abortion cases. It's like, it's just categorically wrong. And none of the stuff that they ask doesn't make any sense. Like, do you have a gun? Okay, you have a gun, therefore you can't run the bench on like what you're an expert at. It's stupid stuff. And they say just really, really, like with that dude who was asking her, like, what can I see your notes? It's like, what if she did? What if she had a binder full of notes? Like, what if she came well prepared? I mean, does that like prove to the American people anything? Like, besides that the woman came well prepared? I mean, I don't really get it. You know what I mean? Like none of the stuff that they ask is very substantive, and they're trying to build traps. So they ask these little short questions over the course of 20 minutes or whatever their time allotment is. And what they're hoping to do is like at minute 15 or minute 16, they like try to snare you, and it's just very boring. It's very boring stuff.
Yeah, like they orchestrate their whole like what they're going to talk about for the 20 minutes in a building trap, essentially. I'm going to ask this, I'm going to ask this, I'm going to ask this. And then at, 15 minutes, if I have it, then if you've said anything controversial or whatever, then I'm going to jump you on this, or I'm going to push this.
Well, that's exactly how the sexual preference thing happened. It was like the chick asked her some totally different question, but because she used the term sexual preference, she decided, all right, I'm going to tee up and start hitting you on that, and it's like, that's all they're trying to do, man. They're just trying to which is fine. It's part of the process. I just didn't find, even the Republicans, I didn't find to ask very, they weren't asking questions that I think are going to enlighten me as an American to who this person is or how they're going to rule over cases. So
that's a good way to put it, man. It was very political, it was just, they wanted, like you said, they want to catch her in a mistake or something like that. And they want to say aha, I gotcha.
Yeah. I think 90% of the time she absolutely smoked him. She's a super smart woman, dude. She's incredibly smart.
She did great she showed Kamala Harris. Did great against her. I mean, Kamala Harris was asking some stupid questions.
That's not what I heard on Twitter.
I'm speaking, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll quiet down.
No, yeah, she's the most smug woman that I think is.
Stop mansplaining, Joe. All right, listen.
It's man. It's been interesting too. It's been more comedy, I think, with this what's it called when they're electing the new
Oh, you're talking about the confirmation process? Yeah. No,
it's comedy compared to Kavanaugh. I was just kind of worried it was going to turn into a Kavanaugh, and it's been a little bit better.
That's where the sexual assault question came from,
Well, I just feel bad. I just feel bad for her, and I would feel bad for her if she was a Democrat. I'd feel bad for or a liberal.
Same.
I would feel bad for her if she's sitting there with 2 adopted kids from Haiti, 2 black children, and they ask her, are you a racist? Would you denounce white supremacy? It's just so beneath someone who has spent their entire life becoming an expert in this thing. It's I honestly, I have trouble drawing comparisons. It's I couldn't imagine spending, let's say 2/3 of my life becoming an expert in the field and then sitting down with other people who are in seats of power in my government, who have spent 2/3 of their life trying to get where they are today, and have them ask me a question like that. It's just very, are we all here to waste our fucking time? I'll just fucking pack up my stuff and leave. Are we here?
I feel like it's a huge waste of time, and that's why part of the question, it's it's like that formal process, right? All right, well, you want to be...
No, that's not part of the formal process. Asking dumb questions is part of the formal process. I have to disagree with you. Sorry.
It's a waste of time.
It is a waste of time, but it's people want that straight and explicit answer, right? They want somebody to ask them that straight up answer and then get this straight up response, right? Even though
I want to know what
makes no sense, but it's if she has a straight up reply and answer to it, that's kind of what they want, right?
Yeah,
the thing that sucks,
the
thing that sucks is I know more about her family and her religious views and what kind of about her family more than anything about her, as opposed to her kind of the way she judges or the way she has judged in past cases or anything like that. And I think that's kind of what you said, is that the questions that are being asked are fucking ridiculous. They're stupid.
That's because they want to trivialize. They want to trivialize exactly to your point. They want to try to say that you as, and it's funny to me too that this happens with women because typically women are supposed to be this protected class of the left. But because this is a conservative woman, that doesn't apply for her. And so I just find it really funny that because she is a Catholic woman with, I believe she has 7 kids, people are automatically, they want you to focus on that as this person is not professional enough to overlook their personal views and be impartial in order to interpret the law or interpret the Constitution. Which is just, it's pretty stupid, man. And to think that that we have people in our government that can't do that. Seriously, you can't separate what you do for work and what you do as a person. People do that every single day. when they just go to their jobs, you know what I mean? Their regular jobs. I don't know. It just seems really stupid to me.
Yeah, there's been zero professionalism while this whole entire interview is taking process.
Any idea when they're supposed to hold a vote or how long the hearings are supposed to go on for?
I don't know. The hearings are over. Hearings were over, I want to say Wednesday or Thursday. And now, I forget which day I watched the last one. And now I don't know when the vote will come in.
Okay.
But then a lot of people said they're not voting. So how does that influence the vote as well?
I mean, it doesn't matter if Democrats don't vote because the Republicans hold the majority in the House or in the Senate. That's what's going to decide it. So as long as it's Republicans that say they're not going to vote, it doesn't really matter.
We got a minute. We got any closing stuff or anything else you want to mention?
Nah, nothing that I can jam into a minute.
Real quick, do you guys think there's going to be a third debate?
That'd be cool. I wish it would.
I hope so.
I don't know.
They owe it to us.
As long as it's not virtual, probably. If they were able to do town halls, then
they owe me another debate.
I think they're going to do it. I think they're going to somehow come to terms. That's my prediction.
That'd be cool.
I hope they do, but I won't be surprised if they don't.
I think they probably will because it'll be long enough. And if they did town halls in person, I think it'll end up becoming that they'll do the debate live too. Kind of set a precedence with the town halls anyways, even though they canceled it. They might have fucked up, so. But we'll find out.
They've been fucked up.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Take Mountain Man names for ourselves.
All right, everybody. Thanks for being with us while we did a little change of format, man. It was thanks for everybody.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Yep. See you guys next week.
Thank you.
Everybody,
have fun.
Take it easy. If you want to hang out and chill with us during the week, join our Discord. We're always around. Have a good evening, and we will catch you guys next week.
Peace.
Propaganda.
Thank you for listening to Subtle Propaganda. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our social media. You can find our podcast anywhere podcasts are uploaded, which include our pre- and post show. We will be live next week at 7 p.m. Eastern. And don't forget to tell us how wrong we were in the comments. See you next time.